this had killed the market for, of course. So now this had killed the market for, of course.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Jambo.
Sogenda badata wange wakoma.
Kale mulabe.
200.
Eh?
Kanteekeko. Abadde mu 200.
Owange namukebe, like I last checked last night. Zizeemu ku makya nenteeka line mu ssimu tusinga ndaba ali mu 600 something. Neŋŋambira gyawunye dda lwakwegumya. Naye gyawunye dda. Good afternoon, everyone that is watching us here on Blackwood Fire Network. Today is a Thursday, and it is 25th of July 2024. My name is INNOSSETU, together with my colleague, Africa Maria. We are broadcasting live from Kampala, Uganda. This is where I'm standing, and of course, Maria is up country. Oba oli ebyalo by'abajjobi bagamba Jobi agenda mu kyalo naye ng'akasenyi akozesa kamasannyalaze.
Nakugulidde data.
Nalabye ng'ebulinkinga. True, thank you.
Ngulidde ng'ogamba ebibyo biri bubi.
Ngambye like nalabye ku makya ne ngamba ebyange biri bubi nti kaweddemu dda we nalabye nga ziri 600. Then network agency no take long to come here. Your voice takes long to come here. Your voice takes long to come here. I don't know whether like you're sitting in the usual place that you use, that like you always sit.
I'm in the usual place.
The voice takes long to come. But anyway, for those watching us, obviously Muteri Komuri.
I could charge.
Yeah, that is the reason why.
Oba nsooke ngiteekeko mu flight mode ngizeeko.
Kireke, kireke. For those that are watching us from, of course, different platforms, that is Facebook, Black Hot Fire Radio Station, and of course, YouTube, Black Hot Fire Network 2, and Twitter. Twitter batuchawe ennaku zino. Twitter, Twitter people, they hate us these days. They no longer see, they no longer view our videos whenever we are broadcasting. But in Kampala, it has been shining, by the way, serious. This morning we've had told about even my look, like, don't you see that my camera is clear? It's because of the sunshine that is outside. It has not rained today. It has not.
Ogamba amadirisa maggule.
No, they are not. But at least it is a reflection. Like there is a
Wanyiza
reflection.
ekitaala kya Katonda.
No, bulijjo kibeerako, but like naye nga nfaanana different. But it's because of the natural light from out. So how is that? How is the weather?
It's cloudy.
Cloudy. Anyway, once again,
Ebire
how are
byonna
you?
biri awo. Enkuba erabika egenda ttonnya nga ssaawa emu.
Kawungeezi in the evening.
Mm.
Okay, so um, today's topic is, of course, why revolution is fading in most African countries. That is the topic we are having today. Of course, like there are different, of course, kinds of revolutions. Like to me, I see them as revolution. Like, let me ask you: is a coup a revolution? Because revolution is all about change in a government. If
Nekuba
there is
just change ya force.
eh,
Naye eri
change your
forced
force,
change.
so it means
Kuba
it
eri
is.
forced change.
No,
Eri change brought by
even when the people are protesting, they use force. Eh? Tewozio litwala time. So I don't know whether it is the same case with me. Like, my voice takes long to come back side. I don't know whether it is the same case. But when we look at, of course, revolutions, to me, I start from coups. We've had the countries here in Africa that have had coups, and of course, have had change in their countries. Together. So we have actually the issue of coups. We take it to most of the West African countries now that had coups between the 2021 and of course 2023, the beginning of 2023. Those countries that had coups between that time, I take that to be a revolution to me. Then the other part of a revolution that we see. This is, of course, the situation that has been happening in Kenya recently. Eh? In Kenya recently, actually, we actually in this month, ever since this month began, Kenya has been experiencing crises of riots, protests, demonstrations, people demanding for change. Actually, it started with the financial bill. Like, people wanted, of course, actually, it was like people wanted, like they did not want the president to sign the financial bill. Which together, that's how the first protest started with that. Of course, the president did not sign, so the protesters gained success between the like they gained the success. Let me say that. Then We had, of course, phrases. The next day, they wanted Ruto to go. They started the anti-government protests. They were like, Ruto go, Ruto must go. There is that saying that is within Kenyan people. Ruto must go, Ruto must go. Of which this revolution in Kenya, this was, of course, a revolution that was not based on any condition, like the revolutions we had, the revolutions we had. Of course, African countries were gaining independence. Like we had leaders, what they called the charismatic leaders, that of course fought for independence. Of course, they had their political goals. This way, they had their political
Mm.
goals. Struggles, these revolutions. Yeah? But the
Mm.
recent action that was in Kenya, this was a situation where it had no one, like everyone was on the street, even kids. You find someone of 16, someone of 10. Waliwo omwana gwe nalaba ng'alina emyaka nga 12 naye ng'ali ku right.
Ubona obumenke balinayo olulimi olulina obumenkemenke.
But
Balina lulina obumenke obutakula bubanga bwana
but
buto.
but, that was the situation in Kenya. That the revolution that happened, the protests, the demonstrations that were in Kenya, they were ageless, tribalist, religious, like they had no connection with any. They had no connection with anything. People just woke up, boom, they're on streets and they're rejecting the financial bill. Now they want Ruto to go. The other time they were, of course, capturing Kenya International Airport. Jakaya is it called Jakaya something? It is Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
Jomo
Is
Kenyatta,
it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Kenyatta.
they wanted to of course to take over the airport. The other time we saw them, they wanted to ban. They were marching to the parliament and they banned some certain, of course, buildings. The other time, like this protesting has been in phrases. They wake up with the new ideas. The other time they protested, they wanted the USA ambassador within Kenya to go outside, which together,
Mm.
so yes, protests have, of course, had success within Kenya. On Tuesday this week in Uganda, actually, people wanted to, of course, let me, should I say people, should I say political leaders? The issue
Nalabye
that
bagamba
happened in, eh?
nalabye bagamba bakutte abantu 6.
Yeah, but
Abantu
they were
6
not
bakuba.
protesting. They were not protesting. They were not
Mm.
protesting. Like nga ku kitebe kya Nuupu, they arrest the people. They find there on that day. There were
Mm.
some few elements that wanted to protest. Ne babagalira. You know what it
Mm.
happens in when when
Yeah,
you
yeah.
when olangirira bwotyo that you're going to protest. At least they arrest people.
Aha.
They
This, this,
bainako,
this is what you were saying last time.
if at all they
Imagine
smell like
those
sentiments to
people. They are
protest.
not, imagine those people who were arrested were not even allowed to reach. Boma Bade Tebafaya, whether they were planning or not, but the moment they saw a group of youths together,
Uh,
you get
they
arrested. Why
arrest
are you in groups?
and it started like this on Monday. On Monday, they were arresting border men. Bali batwala border zaabwe, most of them on the roads. So when it came to Tuesday, most of the border men were converging around the police stations to pick their borders. You pay something, you get your border. So they had no time to go on streets and do stuffs of protesting. Which again,
Mm.
bonna nga bagwera
Mm.
ku nga bagwera ku police. Kitegeera. It is true, bayinza n'okuba nga they even detained more than that number. There is a possibility.
Mm.
Kitegeera. But I was still
Eh.
saying that in Kenya, like actually in Nigeria, people wanted to protest. or even in Zambia, people wanted to protest. Even in Zimbabwe, people wanted to protest. They wanted to do the same, like actually, they wanted to do the same demonstration like those that happened in Kenya within in those countries. So that was the reaction of different African countries. I don't think for the case of Uganda it was like the Kenya stuff. It wasn't, because it was a political led demonstration. It was a political motive demonstration. I was looking at opposition leaders in Uganda. They were like, the police should these protesters to can't meet the speaker. Actually, they should even guide them to the parliament. It was politically organized by opposition leaders in Uganda. Let me say that. Period. It wasn't the same case with Kenya. However, I saw Bobby Wine the day before. He was actually Gali Mawulire Gali ku NTV. I saw it. No, not again. I NTV eyinza okuba kali copyrighted, sobola akasharing, oyinza okunyinza akasharing wano nga kali copyrighted ne batuggala. Naye that video, that guy came with the youth with a certain muya, not even like a certain muya like mbu yagenda okuleadinga this protest. It was like, this is non-religious, this is non-political, this is non-tribal, a demonstration that is going to happen on Tuesday. Najja n'akayaya ako netunulira akayaya. Katono muyaye bagenda muwa etirist emitwalo nga 5 oba 2, naye ali mu kusaddaaka bulamu bwe waaviira okuyita bibagenda mukwata. Okitegeera? So I saw how this guy is a user. So the guy was not even allowed to talk. If he was the lead of this demonstration that happened on Tuesday, that young boy I saw, why is it that he was not even given?
Taina maguru. Why to have managed to create such a group with such ambitions?
The young man was not even given a chance to talk to the media. It is Bobby Wine that spoke. Nebakwata video nga bonna batambula bagoma ne mukama we.
Guy, the problem, this is what I always say. You look at the scenario of Kenya. Even the Kenyans themselves don't know where this whole thing began. They did not know.
I think it started in a humble.
They react. That kati nakugambye. Kyekizibu ate kiri e Uganda. Otegeera? Nti in Kenya ne mugeno tosobola mu affordinga. Naye kati muneeno omusajja omuntu newoba oyina 10,000
I normally see most of the Kenyans, you can afford good food. They are taking ugali and sukuma wiki. People can afford good food.
Ate tewali mmere.
So I was like, do these people bagala bwagazika unga na sukuma wiki?
Tebalina mmere. Kati tolabe bye beesa mu Kenya is this, is that. They don't have food. Kino nkikugamba nkiddamu. Bino Uganda olaba muwogo bamutundira ku bigaali ate ogula kapiisi bwe kati ak'okumeke tebamutundanga mirondo. Abuya tetuligendayo ojja kulaba. Muwogo ffe bwe tugula n'ogula kidomoolo wali n'ofumba akatogo bamutundanga mirondo. Era omusajja ajja n'agulawo kapiisi ne bamuwatirako n'ameketa.
What you talk about exportation? This is not gonna send when we deal in food.
Me, I'm telling you, if you are to deal, ekikulu ate tebamanyi na kubirya. But you either, because me whenever I visit that side, noonya restaurants ez'Abannayuganda w'osobola okufuna ettooke ate kye kinene nnyo ekiddako ojja kufuna chapati rolekisi.
So what you mean, even if you take that food there, they will not buy?
People can buy those who have ever kati bagula ki kye batalyangako.
I was like I was seeing a certain video, yes, over yesterday, over Lori on TikTok here, like someone who is responsible, a responsible man. He was taking ugali and sukuma wiki.
Ugali telina
He's proud.
buzibu. Someone can have a choice of their food, but it is the choices are limited. Bakirize bagaane. And for me, if I'm looking at a treasurer's place, which I should name treasure, and they said this place is beautiful, it is rich, I don't want to starve. I don't care how many skyscrapers a place has. So for me, I don't fancy traveling to the US, by the way. Have ever been there? I don't fancy traveling to European countries. Because for me, what I call wealth is a different thing entirely. Kijja kinsuza mu nnyumba simanyi nti esi mulimu ewawoomi nga simanyi okoze otya nga sigenda kulya mmere ensiiba bumigaati. Nze Maria? So there are things that cutting. When you look at, this is why I said that at times, well, let's look at countries like, of course, Ibrahim Torre,
Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso. When we look at Burkina Faso as a country, people reached to going hungry. People started having 2 square meals, and for that to ever have 2 square meals a day, you understand? To the point that food was extremely expensive. The wheat became expensive bali basiraamu balya ngano. Kitegeera? So rice, which was like part of their food as Muslims, abasiraamu bakkiriza nnyo mu muceere. It was expensive for people to afford. The education system was very expensive in Botswana. So it was very expensive. Now, to the point that a lot of people could not, of course, receive education. Secondly, it was the smallest percentage of people that had electricity. Yet these people were producing, even in Mali. Now, this is a country that produces, and it has the potential of giving electricity to the entire country at even a free cost. But all the things, at least it should have been solar or what. All these were moving to, of course, France. Now, when Ibrahim Traore came, even if he had a certain group of militants or military officials who were backing him up, the citizens were already tired. When you touch the stomach, this is something that a lot of people don't really look at. Like they always say, for us to have a proverb. I grew up actually. I don't know. I grew up with my mom. My mom was telling me something. No matter what you do to a child, make sure you feed that child to satisfaction. Whether you are paining that child, oba migo, oba omutuma, oba mwana wa mujjawo, oba osiba omusituza bidomola by'amazzi ku omwana oyo alimmira kute. Okitegeera ekintu ekyo? If you attack the stomach, my dear, now wow. If you prevent people from, we have seen a lot of demonstrations, we have seen a lot of coups, we have seen a lot. Remember what was happening in Egypt? On the time of Egypt, bantu bameka abafa kulwa bei ya wheat.
Nani?
You remember? Because of wheat. Engano yalinya. Because we have been going through a lot. The northern part of Sudan, those who have been experiencing a lot of instabilities. We had never seen such a crowded revolution, riot, demonstration of people on the streets until they touched on the prices of the wheat, because this is what they feed on. Omuntu yenna bw'aba ayina enjala atabuka. Kati ekyo Museveni kyalwanyisa n'abantu be. Amakinga sure nti n'owa wansi ayina kyasobola okukola ki? Okulya. And it's a surprising thing to hear that Ugandans are not eating. No matter how someone is going to say, I'm hungry, no. You are hungry because for you, you have leveled yourself. What which but there is a chintu kyosobola okwetuusaako. You can go and get silver fish, ogenda ogule wali kawunga, you understand? But there are situations where they have limited even the cheapest thing that a poor can afford. And when you look at like Uganda, actually, most of the people, people call it a country that is not all that developed. Most of the people are in the villages.
Their family.
Era ensi bw'olaba nga bikunyize maama osindikirayo ku ttooke and you get something to eat ekitali ewalala. Let me say for example Kenya, most of the Kenyans, even if it is a household, they are specializing in commercial agriculture. Balima bibala, balima oranges, balima tebalina cash crops mungi abo.
Coffee, like coffee, cotton, cloves,
vanilla. They don't have much. They don't, there is, well, some people have, no cotton, no, I don't think. Some people have a thing, katugamenga kawa. Nekenya te producing a kawa. They have some tea, about producing a tea, we have got tea, but it's like Uganda, there are not many people concentrating on tea production or tea farming. Now, yeah, everyone, even if unte, balunda za kujjamu mata ga kutunda. So kati, because why? By an available market for their products. Kyangwana muno waliwo afuga entambula ya sente, the money circulation. Mugwage. Kati tusaako ngamba tuli bagagga. You don't tell me that shit, me. No. Because for me, what I look at all the different thing entirely. Our ekisooka okubeerayo kwa bbeeyi, ennyumba gipangisa ya bbeeyi. Tosaana kufunayo nnyumba. Tukaabira wano tosobola. Ate bw'ofuna embi ziri zigeta abataka abo mwe basula boolaba abo be tukola nabo. Mukwano bibaati. Basula mu gabaati gwe mwosula. Kati okufuna ennyumba eriko amataffaali. Yabbeeyi. Erina kuba erinamu ekiyigo, mayi balina engeri gye beeteeka ku levo y'abasumba.
Wait, what brings that? Is it because of the building materials are expensive, or it is a policy for people? Like it is a policy that is organized by the government for people to reside in such places.
Structure. That same structure, your Gen Pharmacy was introducing that system. When you take you render. It take you to the government nezimba, and most of the houses have to look the same.
So they are government houses. Niggas are invested.
Whenever banga bakuwa omusolo, oba akasente for a certain duration of time. Bwe liggwawo, then they give you back that land n'ennyumba eyo. Kitegedde? Kati amayumba gaba galina kufaanana. Kati if they are amayumba gaba galina kufa bo naturally Katonda yabatonda bali bantu bakwesuddiya. Nze mba mbalaba naawe ne bw'aba muzeeyi. Kati that one has caused a huge difference between bamufuna mpola n'abayinaayinamu. If you don't have, you don't have. Tebivaayo we weesuddiyamuko ennaku 3 eri bw'oba toyina. No, you'll find it, people who can afford a certain type, ate tewali omukozi wa TV omuki bonna oyinza okubasanga almost in the same area. Kati ennyumba gye basobola okwaffordinga. Rent yabwe eri expensive, amasanzi gabwe gali expensive, tebalina n'amazzi. Babasimira zino nzigi za buli apartment ebaako zino enzigi zino enzizi.
That is where I want to ask, like, what makes of course the cost of living to be very high?
First of all, their economy is automatically controlled by external influences. And they have no power. Even the stake and the shareholders of the real estates and the estates are not citizens. These are shareholders who are in for businesses. The people who are taking the contracts of estates, the people who are taking contracts of course housing are not citizens. It is not the government. It is another outside government. Now that means for them they don't really care what is going on with the people. Kasaba banga bajjayo sente. Ate sente balina gisigaza nga ali nzugumivu. Basobole ogifunamu. That's why you say their money has got value, but it has no value to the people. Apart from those who are in big business sectors. What is the essence of 50,000 ezeeri okubeera nga giringa 6,000? But yet ng'ogenda okugula that money ogenda kugulamu eno engatta eya bulijjo ey'O1,000. You understand? Ogenda kwata emmere ogenda kulya nga ya 1,500, si gye 3,000. Kati ezo sente zo zikuyamba ki? If you are going to a local restaurant n'olya mmere nga ya 1,000 mu restaurant
nina 10 ky'e Kenya bagambye kirimu 2,208. 10 ky'e Kenya.
Wakijjeewa? Neerinda nga nalina obusente obwo bungi oba nabuteekawa?
10 ky'e Kenya.
Wakijjeewa? Wakijje?
Sente mbanga nazo naawe.
Ambuliza amabulire.
Nakifuna no najjo. Nakifuna najjo. Kyokka waliwo yakiri najjo.
Wakifunawa?
Someone gave it to me.
Soba Bannakenya beeri ewaffe.
Someone gave it to me.
Ninamu nno sente ze Kenya ziwerako. Ani yazikuwadde? Simanyi okwanyeyo munake.
Soko nnyonnyole. Onyedde otusi n'onsaaliza.
Twankuba. tumpunyira bulungi lwakuba
Mwagaana
twankuba.
okunywa amazzi. So obadde owa comparison between Uganda, of course, there are some there are some, of course, issues that, of course, that have made some African countries not, of course, to make revolutions, or revolutions are fading in these countries, despite of course, the bad governance of the leaders in those countries, which together, they have not seen or carrying, of course, protests in those countries. So Kenya coming out to demand whatever it is demanding now, kitegeera, yes, it acted as an example in Africa wide,
Nalabika
so that
Tunya yajja agenda.
ani
Tunyo yajja agenda.
siwulire siwulira.
Biveeko.
So for the case of Uganda, actually there are even countries that are worse than Uganda. There are countries like Rwanda, there are countries like Burundi, Congo itself, but we have not seen people protesting. Why? So these are the factors that
Abakanga
are leading.
baprotesting ono.
Besides, of course,
Abakongo sometimes they protest.
Ngaba protesting iraki. They have access to guns.
Omuzungu agende. But the major people who protest be bano ababa bavudde eno mu ntalo. Kati kintu kicreatinga nnyo impact kuba ekintu kinyuma akirimu ali ku base.
Singa bano baprotesta b'e Uganda babeera mu mmotoka mbu bali ku ground.
Baba yabadde ani oyo?
Babeera mu mmotoka mbu tuli ku ground tetubalaba. When they are in their cars, mbu tetubalaba muliwa. Kuba kumakyali ku ground in his car.
Ekinyampi kitaddemu emisumaali gyonna.
Yebale.
Ne bagambye kiyaaye. Kizeeyi nno kikulu ku Kiganda naye maama. Bw'otemya kiyinza okuyisa abagga. But we have why a lot of people, or why most of these things are not, or the revolutions are not, of course, succeeding. It's because, first of all,
Sharing a common Nambe sharing a common group. Nja kukulizinga. Sharingako mu group waliwo yajja n'alaba n'adduka. Sharingako mu group.
Mbadde freezes.
Freezing it on the background in name.
Nabikola ng'era abaddaga ndiseka. Bageza okwegirayo ng'olwokoye. Let me try and share. Olw'okuba bwe nsharinga buyite bireeta buli.
you have to be patient. You have to be patient until it brings that thumbnail. So with
Nigawa
that thumbnail, don't be speedy. You have to wait for it.
ndaga for Cydia. Ndaga procedure.
Ndabye ekikumi oba kyemba ntwala ku dduuka kino ekikumi ky'e Kenya.
Mpa procedure tulabe.
Genda ku YouTube.
Ngezeeko. Ntuuse.
Genda ku YouTube wali show ya. Ogenze kati nywege wantu ewa share. Kati nyiga kali ka arrow ka share ogende ku WhatsApp. Ogenda ku WhatsApp you look for nonya group weri then osharing naye obe toyangwa kukirikinga kugisindika girinde paka nga ka thumbnails kaze. Don't be fast. Don't be fast. Wait for it. It's going to load slowly. Then you click and go. Chiwede. Body speed.
Sinasindika ninzi.
Tunoza mu kamera nice. Tunoza mu kamera tulabe ne ogujjako. Why is that thing big like?
Yeah.
Damu tosharinga damu. Damu.
Kuba ninasooka subscribing.
Even if you don't, it's not necessary.
Kigaana.
Ireke.
Kale tugende mu maaso. So like I was saying, sorry. Like a lot of people, or most of the countries are lacking that something that is going to unify them under the same struggle. Because from the beginning, we are extremely divided. Even now that we are still having, let me say, for example, in Kenya, there are still other Kenyans who are not in support of what is going on. It is not like the entire Kenya, it's not like everybody in Kenya is supporting this revolution or this, the demonstration. Some people are supporting, some people are not. Some people are supporting what is going on, some people are in disagreement with it. You understand? So this is the same thing, but I think all that people need is a particular strength support from a big number of people, or a big number most of the people don't react unless something directly affects them. And like I said, now this is the challenge. When we saw some coups and in some West African countries, of course, we also saw there are some people who are in disagreement with what was going on and others were in agreement. But still having this coup people were already tired of what was going on. And that is why whatever the coup and everything was successful. Now we have, we have situations in other country where there is a certain number of people not experiencing the pain other people are experiencing. We have also a certain category that does not really care what is going on. We have another category that is extremely ignorant about action. We have got those who are just cowards. They don't want to involve themselves. It depends. When most of these, of course, revolutions are failing, I think when it takes long without people having response, who or and if of course without people having response to what they want, at times most of people tend to give up. And I can say right now we're having revolutions or we're having riots, demonstrations in Kenya, but these demonstrations have lasted for some time. And we are not reporting a certain there is a way the Kenyan government is handling its citizen. Kitegeera. But there is not too much force. Yes, we are seeing some tear gas and all that. There is not too much force between the citizens of Kenya and the government. And this is why this is managing to take place and continue. Nenkula yabasuula mu kimizairo n'enkya tobalaba.
Minzairo mboko. Minzairo.
Ruga. So
Yakubuuza MP kitegeeza ki?
there is a way the Kenyan government is handling its people, and by the way, nze nyinza ogamba bakola bulungi. Because if the Kenyan government was to be extremely hostile, that's why lwaki abantu beepanga beebaza gavumenti yaabwe. Nze kyenda baba byenni enkya bibadde tebidda. Who is beating you? So those are the things that actually, first of all, the way the government is handling its citizen. At times, we have seen coups, we have seen revolutions, we have seen people fight against governments in countries, and the wars or the fights or the conflict lasting for a very long time, resulting to instability. The government refused to step down, the people refused to step down, people start dying. We have seen, for example, the situation in Egypt. Bafunako results zonna. But a lot of people died. So when people got tired of losing their lives, they balekera ogenda ku street ne basigala kubikolera ku masimu. kati nze ŋŋamba before okwapreciatinga Kenya basooke baappreciatinga ne gavumenti yaabwe kuba yebakkiriza yeri mu kubakkiriza okukola ekintu kino whether you like it or not, that is the truth. Yeri mu kubakkiriza tali mukama walegamantama wano. Government is allowing them to do this. Simanyi kyefunamu, but it is allowing them to. Kubanga tetujja gamba mbu when we oba ayagala kubeera mu good record ya human rights oba atya ekomera yamanyi kyaliko naye musirikale w'amagye oyo Dudu civilian wamma totegeera nabigamba civilian tasafuga Afrika eno bayinza okubba oyo kiboko wuuyo bamukuba gwe yali awakana kati lengera atya entalo.
Ulira. Yes, President William Ruto is associated with the military in Kenya. He serves as the commander-in-chief of the defense forces.
Omumaze
Mpulira sirikiriya.
Now, when you look at, if at all we are to look at a successful revolution, more especially in countries like Africa, we don't need any meddling of political. We don't need any political meddling. Like, we don't need any political meddling. All right. Like I said now, recently Ugandans were staging a demonstration, and I know it was painful for a lot of people who were watching this. For me to say that it's not going to be successful, I was just saying the truth because the truth still remained. It was never successful. It is now in the past and it has not been successful. And at times, we have to put aside the emotions and the anger, more especially. The anger is okay because it drives us to do, but don't let the anger overshadow your mind. Get to understand what you want and how you're going to do it. Now, I think this is a problem people be having. When you are to say such a thing, if you have not been part of the preparation of a revolution, and you've just seen this revolution, just people posting, we want to start a marching and stuff, and for you are just seeing it because you are an outsider who is being invited to take lead or to participate in this. You cannot have much say because probably maybe you even don't know when this started, why, how, and who is right behind this. Now, it is okay for people to have speculations. We just did this, we just swarmed on the streets and all that. No. There is something that people don't really, and now the problem we Africans have, the problem that most of us have, we take the things for childish play. When Bobby Wine saw the situation in Kenya, he wanted to imitate. He's always doing that. Bro can never have a mind of his own. He wants to always do what others are doing. He cannot sit as a man and be,
Yeah,
no how is he going?
normally,
He not only is to become a president, how is he going to run the country?
he
And how
normally
much
imitates. Whenever he sees, of course, different countries across Africa, he normally actually tries to give those countries as examples. A press conference when we saw when of course Togo got that new president, that guy who's over 39 years, that guy in Togo, that Togolese president, he organized a press conference, and if he doesn't organize a press conference, he puts something on Twitter or on Facebook for people to see. When we saw the incident when Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, of course, made a coup in Burkina Faso, he came out and he said, "Why? What are you doing? Like Ugandans, what are you doing? Different countries are getting the support of the people." Which he just jumps into things. So when the issue of Kenya happened, he also came out and said stuff. For him, he doesn't have that strategic plan to bring out something that can be successful, but he jumps onto things that before everything, Bietulava, he's a real supporter of Malema. That's why those people, those guys, they're having red outdated stuff, red a kind of. Whenever he sees Malema in South Africa doing something, he comes out and, of course, praises Malema's thing. He doesn't know the genesis of these things. He doesn't know how people like what people are putting in to make such success in their countries. Yeah, viable be
This, this,
jumping.
this is like what I was saying. He does not have a mind of his own. And you cannot, now this is the problem. We are all in Africa, but we have different issues. Right? This is why you cannot come out, I even wonder, and start pointing out the other country is so local, what? No. We all have our levels. We are better than each other in one way or the other, whether people like it or not. The way Kenya is going to handle its issues can never be the way Uganda is going to handle its issues. The way Burkina Faso handled its issue with Ibrahim Traore can never be the same way Nigeria is going to do it. Now, if you don't sit, because it is funny. Me, I don't usually, me as a person, I don't always like love to involve myself a lot, more especially when I'm very green about a certain country. Sina experience yansi eyo. So it is okay for you to have a revolution, a coup, a demonstration, but get to understand how many people are out. Because let's say, for example, you are going to start talking about taxes. You are talking about taxes. The people who are being affected by this tax, most of them even probably, but they have even booked their flights to go to China for business. Together. Most of these people probably they are waiting for their containers to arrive, which are $1 billion of money. Again, them James Street containers so get to understand. Who is the biggest, what is the biggest percentage of the people, what do they do, and what is hurting these people. You cannot bring that right now. We are talking about the bill in Uganda should be changed. What are you changing about the bill? And do you even, are the people concerned? Is this bill affecting the people? Yeah. So you cannot imitate. You're not going to wake up one day and say the situation in Burkina Faso right now. No, get to analyze, realize, understand What do your people need? And who is affected? Who are the majority affected people in a particular? Because even elders can come on the street. It's not always about the youth, even the military officials. I remember there was a certain time I used to move. Abu, I don't know if you've ever seen those pictures when I was standing amidst some grown-ups. Warange ebifaananyi nja kubikulaga kuba biri ku Facebook yange. I got to realize the power of each individual. Don't underestimate that the old people should move out and let the young people come in. So now we want the young, the old we don't want. We want the old. Don't underestimate. Each one has what is hurting them. Just identify how are we going to snatch those hearts and the mind of the young people. Oyogera ku musolo tebalina mu business, tebabimanyi. Kugamba other people they will just shout about tax because they have seen it on TV, but they are not feeling the pain of taxes. Because most of them bawansi bo bagenda ne basuubula okweba mu wino ne batunda ne basuubula engatto zaabwe ne bazitembeya. They don't know the pain of katitoleeta issue ya tax. If at all you are
Why
going
is
to
it that we
target
don't see the real people that are affected directly by tax, by that tax, the real people, but now importing, they are not coming out because they are rich people. Kitegeera?
kati
They're not even
kyemugamba
coming out of the streets. So it means your protesting doesn't apply to the society.
olaba ekintu misolo ku kinaki kwe baali batadde soke tuddeyoko tukuba erivansi.
Yeah, let's go back. Hey, in Kenya? In Kenya or Uganda?
Kenya soko olindeko Uganda. So because ffe wano we have had
in Kenya,
taxes
it was
everywhere.
fuel. It was fuel. I remember vegetable something. What biche
Komao. Wagambye, there is something I quote, and you are not quoting it wrong because I've seen it physically. To the biggest population, ey'Abana Kenya balya vegetables. Ne bw'aba alidde ennyama kubeerako vegetable. Owulira mbuyi? The biggest population y'abavubuka abataasoma n'abasomako ekitono bavuga booda. Tolaba nti mwogera ku piiki eziri e Kampala, gende Nairobi. The biggest population of small income earners and also people who are into, of course, people who are into building their future. Let me say at a young stage, most of them are dealing in things that have a lot to do with the fuel. They are riding borders. It is not in Kenya. It is not like in Uganda where you find a lot of abakadde nga bavuga border. Most of the people doing border business are young people. They are lawyers, young lawyers, and the Kisiis. Others who have not gone to school, they leave the village, they come to Nairobi to ride the border. If you touch the price of the fuel, my dear, a border person is also involved. I'll put it down. Vegetable okuva ku mukadde paka ku mwana oba omukutteko, because this is something that everyone can afford. The other side kitegeera nga bw'ogamba wano mukene. So first of all, like I was saying, in Uganda, get to understand before you go on Twitter or wherever you are going to, of course, use someone else's idea and why they were having a revolution or a demonstration. Get to understand.
we look at, of course, Kenya, and of course, issues that made Kenyans to, of course, protest. These are real issues. These are issues that, of course, people are, of course, having in their daily lives. Their daily lives. When we talk about, of course, the issue, the major issue, and that is, of course, the financial bill details. Of course, the financial bill proposed taxes or fees on internet data, fuel, bank transfers, and even diapers. So the Kenyan government sought to raise an additional 2.7 billion in domestic revenue through these changes. So supporters argued that these measures were necessary to pay off the national debt and reduce the budget deficit. So protesters and opposition, young Kenyans organized peaceful street demonstrations starting on June 18th, and that is 2024, to oppose the bill. So protests spread from Nairobi to other parts of Kenya, including Mombasa and Eldoret. So the bill passage led to clashes between the anti-government, of course, protesters and the pro-government group. Some lawmakers opposed the bill, but it was still passed. So President Ruto, who had argued all Kenyans to pay off their fair share of taxes and, of course, faced criticism. So his aggressive stance on taxation was seen by some as out of touch with ordinary people, of which he, of course, in elections he sought to be touching. He sought to be, of course, to bring out, of course, the ordinary people to board. When he was, of course, convincing the Kenyans to get, when he was convincing Kenyans when they were voting for him, he used that slogan of the hustlers. So most of the people in Kenya, they are living in too harsh conditions. So like people thought that he's going to represent them. But when you talk about the import taxes, the bill aimed to increase import taxes from 2.5 to 3% of the value of the imported items, so payable by importers. So this change came just a year after the rate was reduced from 3.5 to 2.5. So this move, Ruto was joking, because whenever import taxes are increased, it means the people that are going to buy these things within the country, they're going to buy them expensively, because if you increase the tax of imports, it means the final consumer here who is going to get that car, that imported car, is going to get it, of course, expensively due to the taxes. So protesters expressed concern that these changes would lead to higher prices for imported products within Kenya. And when you look at most of the African countries, most of the goods here, they are imported from outside. So gegezaako to increase the taxes, imported tax. People think that everything, actually not even thinking, everything that is imported is going to be expensive. When you look at goods like cars, we import cars here, motorcycles, actually, like most of the technological things here, electronic gadgets, they are imported here. Like when you look at the phones, the computers, all these things are imported. So today, the biggest percentage of the youths today, they use phones, they use electronic gadgets. If someone doesn't have a phone, he's having an iPad. If someone doesn't have an iPad, must be with a radio. If doesn't have a radio, he's having an MP3 player. So you're joking. So when you look at the eco levy, the bill introduced an eco levy on products that contribute to waste and harm the environment. So initially, the levy would have affected, of course, essential items like sanitary pads and the of course, nappies. However, the government later clarified that it would apply only to imported products. So specialized, of course, hospital tax was also among the financial bill, of which the financial bill introduced a 16% tax on goods and services exclusively used in construction and equipping specialized hospitals with a minimum bed capacity of 50. So concerns were raised about the potential higher healthcare costs for Kenyans. So these are the real things. So there is no, like, people are now going to ask for for things that are not relevant. At least each person in a country deserves, of course, a favorable healthy care. How does that person get that favorable health care? By constructing, of course, hospitals, by putting drugs in hospitals. So if the health care is, of course, is expensive in a country, how are people going to enjoy, of course, such services? So it means people are going to die of diseases because they can't afford, of course, these financial costs that are high. So that's why people are protesting in Kenya. So if at all, like, we base, of course, revolutions on such ideas, on such issues that are real, just like in Kenya, like, because it doesn't need to explain to a kid, like, it is expensive to buy paracetamols here in Uganda. It doesn't need that explanation. We know that paracetamols, they're used to reduce pain and, of course, to some extent, some fevers. So if at all you tax, if at all you put, of course, if at all the healthcare is highly costed, people have to riot. So these are really the real issues. The other issue was about the alcohol excise tax increase. We know a lot of Kenyans take alcohol. They like alcohol like nothing. So the governments also plan to raise excise duty on alcohol. For instance, beer tax from, of course, 134 Kenyan shilling of every two bottles to 142. So the tax on wine and spirits also saw similar increases. So despite of the public opposition, the bill was passed, leading to protests and clashes in Kenya. So all we need, of course, is to address the real issues of the revolution. Let's look at what people are really going through, of course, in Africa. So a lot of Africans are waking up. Like, you can't be organizing, like, we are going to march to the parliament because of course, corruption and, of course, abuse of human rights. If yet someone in the village, someone who has not protested, there is no way his rights have been abused. Someone in the village, there is no way he's understanding the corruption that you're marching for. You march for real things. So that's why, of course, different, of course, countries, the revolution is failing, despite of the bad leaders that we have within Africa. So other issues, um, uh, um, other issues that, of course, that are making, of course, that are making, of course, revolutions to fail in Africa. We can talk about uh, is that, of course, when you look at, of course, the demographic, of course, status of Africa, like, people think it is much better to organize protests on, of course, on social media. I don't think this move is the issue of protesting on social media. I don't think is the best move for someone to protest for real things, because we see a lot of people protest on social media. Someone is in a car, he says, I'm on ground. Where are you? Someone is in UK, is sending a certain clip that, we are with you. So what does it imply if at all people are protesting on social media? If a lot of people are just putting content, people are looking for likes. When will we ever be serious about what we need? When will we ever be serious about what we need? I wish I get the other video when I was seeing a Bobi Wine moving with that young man that the young man is going to lead the protests in Uganda. Crazy stuff. Crazy. 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 So the other reasons behind the challenges, of course, faced by revolutionary movements in many African countries of course, we see that the historical context and, of course, the post-colonial legacy that we have in African countries also limits, of course, the success of course, these revolutionary movements or revolutionary activities. When you look at for much of the continent, African continent, the foundations of political culture necessary to sustain liberal democracy have been weak since the post-colonial era. So the persistence of religious and ethnic rivalries has often undermined democratic processes. So the issue that happened in Kenya, why of course protests in Kenya were successful, it's because they did not include any tribal clashes, like it was non-tribal, it was non-religious, it was non-political, like anyone that wished change to see change in Kenya went on streets. But in most of the African countries, we still see these rivalries, the religious, the political, the tribal rivalries, and we can't see success. If at all, if at all, we still see, of course, post-colonial legacies are still, of course, fresh in people's minds in African countries. Someone will say, we are seeing Muslims protesting. For me, I'm a Christian, I want to go there. It is born against protesting now. That man is a born again. I want to go there. That man is of course from this political group, from this political party. I'm not going there because I'm not part of that political party. So when we look at, of course, the economic factors like Africa's growth has, of course, faced significant challenges due to external economic shocks and, of course, suboptimal policy responses from international donors and, of course, national policymakers. So, poor growth of African governments over the past 40 years has resulted in widespread poverty, hindering revolutionary movements. Some of the real revolutionary movements, they need someone to be with money to organize such a revolutionary movement. Someone has to build money. Equipments have to be equipped. When we go to West Africa, most of the governments have been overthrown by coups, of which coups these military officers have guns. These military officers had equipment. So if we still see that we can't support ourselves with of course, we can't support ourselves with the equipments. How will revolutionary movements, of course, be successful? Despite of the demonstrations, people have gone far to cause. The other issue is leadership and governance. Bad governance like corruption and lack of accountability have of course plagued many African countries. So revolutionary movements struggle when faced the entrenched political elites who resist change. So even the leaders that we see that could have, of course, pioneered these movements, they are corrupted. So the other issue is about, of course, the security and stability. So military coups and instability in some African regions have diverted attention from revolutionary efforts. So ensuring security and stability is crucial for successful revolutionary movements in Africa. So no matter why the Kenyan police, the Kenyan army, people can even slap the army officers in Kenya. Shegera. Otherwise, if these people were really tough, were brutal, of course, will that revolutionary movement be successful? It's because the Kenyan police is of course lenient. Nalabye, Nalabye president of Nigeria, even the Nigerian police, they warned the youths about protests like those in Kenya. Ate ne poliisi y'e Nigeria naye eringa y'e Uganda, olaba abasiba basiraamu batasiiba. Olaba abasiba abasiraamu batasiiba kati gwe weekalakaase bakuwa.
Choka wewe. She said, yeah. Um, most of the revolutions that we are seeing, like I say, are failing really because they are not based on things that unify the people. And it also depends on the foundation of the leaders of the specific revolution. And by the way, having a revolution is not only about the mind, it is costly, even if no one wants to talk about the money part. If someone can be hired to go and guard, we have got, by the way, we have got like youth groups in Uganda where some people with money hire young youths to go and protect the lands that probably have some wrangles. We have seen a lot of people lose their lives through this. And these are the people who have given up everything. There are people who have specific organizations, groups of people that are known, that for them what they do is this. Now, there's a scenario which we had some time back where we lost one of a big thief, a man who was known to be a robber, and he claimed that he changed and all blah blah, and he had recruited very many young people. There is a scenario where we saw a particular man who had a huge piece of land and had bought this piece of land, I guess, unlawfully, and wanted to capture this land from the people. He hired. The people were apparently like 100 something, and these people were on that land. These were people who came there, and each day they were spending on that land, they were given salary. Now, these young people in 100, when they started having, and the other one also brought another gang. So the gangs were fighting each other. Hmm? These are people who were fighting for land that is not theirs. They were fighting for something they don't even know about, but they were fighting because they have been paid and they were ready to kill or be killed. The mercenaries. Now, there are a lot of revolutionary groups that have a lot of people who don't have any interest in what is going on. But for them, they are strong enough to stand and fight and rebel. And each hour they spend in that chaos, they are given a certain amount of money. Now, when such kind of people hit the street, when such kind of people hit of course, the street, even other people who have not been organized will come in. Hmm? Even other people who are not organized will come in and join. I've seen this. This is why I say having a revolution without money is also a little bit hard. Because nowadays, people, money with people cannot be separated. I give you that example of the gang that had more than 100 people who were hired on a certain piece of land in Uganda. And I can promise you they caused chaos. People died with only machetes. These people were even having stick words and all that, and they were fighting barbarically. Not because the land belonged to them, but they were hired to fight. And each time they spent on the battlefield is the money they were getting loaded on their accounts. Now, it is, what is that? Hello, Jibjaba. We hope you're doing good. So, we saw these people who were fighting for no reason, to the point that some of the ones who were opponents to them lost their lives. And through this chaos, we saw one of the known gang leader in Uganda losing his life. Actually, he was a robber who had terrorized the people for a long time. But the people who were in that group that killed this particular man never appeared. And even their faces never showed. The police did not arrest. Yet everyone saw their faces, more especially when they were guarding these areas. Now, when we are to look at a revolution, I'm someone who stands in to want to change. I really want change. But I can tell you, it is not only me who wants this. There are very many people who do. But it is in the nature of humans to bargain with their mind. What am I benefiting from this? This is number one. What am I benefiting from this revolution if I told them to join it? If I told them to die right now, what is going to... People always have this. But like I said, we always have the spearheads. This is not something me, Maria. I don't know why even people are still denying about this. We don't need to have people behind. Who said? If we do not need to have people behind, then we should be having revolutions every day. If I get mad, I head up to the street and I start shouting and people join me. There are people who spearhead these activities. And among them, it is okay for you to carry 200 of people who have nothing to lose. I told you, we even have people who are paid to cause commotion. And each hour they spend, wherever you have sent them, if you have sent them to fight people to evacuate a certain area, these people are like mercenaries. And we have seen these mercenaries work. And now we have got us, the people who are also hurting. Okay? People who are also hurting, who are definitely going to join this. There are people who are earning money from the revolutions. There are people who are earning money from stepping on the streets and risking their lives, and those are always the ones at the front. And then we have got people who are hurting. We have got me, Maria, who wants to see change. We have got INNOSSETU, who has also been through a lot. We need to stand out there and our voices need to be heard. But we are just people who have joined this group The group that has, of course, a memorandum that we are fighting for. But for this group, at the end of it all, in most cases, it has the superpower names that are always behind, that the media will never see, that the people will never know. Even who is joining this group, I will never find out. And everyone will never know they are secured. But all they are doing is investing money in this. The money that even some people, not everyone will get, apart from the people who are spearheading. So, in such kind of revolutions, these are the kind of revolution, and this is why basically everyone has their own ideas, suggestions. They feel the way it is. No, we just walk, it was one morning we went and stormed. How long has a country existed? How many things has it gone through? Did people just storm? There are things that we have been experiencing that are more painful than some. People have not. We have seen people go churches, people entering churches and burning people alive. Isn't that painful? We have seen people where you are not even allowed to walk at a certain particular time. There is no freedom of movement. People need a spearhead. Everyone is hurting, but everyone is afraid to pull their hands out. And most of the revolution, I know everyone is going, I know people will deny this. No. This is the truth. And this is how things are done. Because if we wake up one time, like I said, politics in Africa is a business for the rich. No matter how someone is going to bring their stories, I grew up in a poverty, it's a business. There are people who are making sure that the government does not change. Because for them, they are benefiting from this government. I'm going to use the example of the president of Uganda or the government. There are people who are benefiting that even there are places where the president has never reached. But these people make sure they reach there to talk to the people, spread money. Because for them it is important for this government to stay. They are benefiting from it. And what happens to people who are not benefiting? You see, everything that has got to do with the change of leadership, coups, whatever has an agenda. It has an agenda. All right. So people are stepping out on the street to fight what is going on. A country is not like a university where we stand to fight because of our tuition and stuff like that, and probably we are not having lectures come in. Our parents have been paying in tuition and lecturers are not coming in class and all that. This is a country that everyone is hit differently. With an institution, people are hit the same. But with a country, everyone is hit differently. We've got people who don't care whether the tax is high or not. We have got people who just want something small to eat. We have got people who are tired, they have lost their loved ones. We have got people who cannot afford school and they want to be. Now, all these people to be categorized under one umbrella, they need someone who has nothing to lose. And this is why I said, whether people accept it or not, we have got machineries spearheading most of the revolutions. For them, they are paid to be out there and add the fire. And the moment, the bigger the group, the bigger the following. And of course, when people are tired, it is very easy for this to happen. I know people say, no, people are so tired. They don't have to be machineries. We have bogus people. We have people who can do anything for any reason. Why should people think that we cannot have people paid to do stuff? I'm not like automatically saying everyone is paid, but definitely people who are spearheading a lot of things are people who were organized, promised. Just like when you have people go to bushes, go to wars, we have people go to coups. Ibrahim Traore promises, you know what, Lieutenant so and so, the moment we win this, you are stepping into this. He's fighting for that. You know, Captain so and so, the moment you convince your brigade, convince your squad, convince your people, the moment you do this, definitely I will reward them with this. He's fighting for that. And this is why we have seen there are people who are holding guns, yani. They are ready to shoot, kill, or be killed, but because they have a very strong agenda. Today you may not be able to eat, but be able to eat tomorrow. This is the hope a lot of Africans have. Now, among all these, those people who have the agenda of coups, those people, the military who are prepared to take over, because they have been promised, they have sat and decided, Ibrahim Traore, you're going to lead this, and Ibrahim Traore says that, Maria, after that, you're going to join this, you're going to get that INNOSSETU, that we know what we are fighting for. I'm going to still bring back the same to East Africa. We have seen how Kenyatta came into power in other countries. We have seen how Rwanda, of course, won the genocide with its current president. We've seen how these people promised. The president of Ghana said, do you know what, Kagame, if you help me do this with the Renjema, if Tanzania, you join me to fight this, well, I'm definitely coming to Tanzania to help you. And they did. They did that. And we saw change. Unfortunately, it is not something to be proud of, now. All right? So everyone is hurting. There is no way you're going to help and say, Ugandans are cowards. They cannot come on the street. Tanzanians are so stupid. They cannot say, yeah. People have been going through a lot for long. All they are lacking is that. And I know everyone doesn't want to hear that you have got people paid to spearhead. I know, because when you say it, then what are you talking about? But that is the truth. It is the truth. I know everyone doesn't want to hear that people, there is someone behind. No, there is nobody behind. We are having people stand up. No one is supporting. We got no. Machineries don't give a damn whether you're Christian, whether you're what. They are coming for their mission. And the majority of the people who will join their mission are people who've been waiting for someone to bring their head out of the hole so that they can also follow, like me. I don't have the strength to spearhead riots. You know, but if I see something that's going to be successful, I will definitely be on the streets. And how many people are like me out there? So this is the advantage. That, but everything has to be, people have to sit on a draft board and get to realize how this game is played. You have to accept the bitter truth. If you keep up running away from the bitter truth, then it is up to you. It is up to you. The bitter truth is that. And if people keep on skipping, no, so for me, I'm just going to mobilize. Who are you going to mobilize? Some people have slept hungry. They have not even eaten. They don't have even strength to shout. Some people have everything. They're afraid of losing the little they have. Okay, now let's assume probably. Let me give a very good question to Kenya. Kenya as a country. And people who are probably saying, no, Maria is not right. It is people they chose. If Ruto should go, because now it is about Ruto should step down, who is coming? Who does the people want? The people themselves don't know. Different people have their different people they want to see come. You'll interview somebody, says somebody will say somebody else. Everyone has their own person they are desiring. But it is important for this because some other people are given a bigger chance for them to be able. And as much as it is benefiting the people of Kenya, it is also benefiting those individuals issues, it is not going to leave aside the fact that there are people who are benefiting from this as much as the citizens are benefiting. But the biggest query, are we going to have a positive change, if at all, if we are successful? Or is our revolution going to fail? Because for me, if our revolution is not going to bring out exactly what took us on the streets, then why should I be happy about this? We see people on the streets every day. I'm gonna give an example. Like I gave an example previously about we had some revolutions in Tanzania, we had some revolutions in Rwanda, we have some in Sudan, and these revolutions had organized machineries. Okay? They had organized the machineries that were paid to take lead. For them, whether it meant staying in action 24/7, they were earning money from this action. It was a business. And they end up being, of course, succeeding. And this is not all about me, Maria, saying, but this is how the game is played. If you cannot understand how this game is played, then you're not going to win. Because this is a game. Whether we like to or not, politics is a game. You have to understand how this game is played. Then you enter the arena when you know what is supposed to be done in the field. You may bring your other new tactics, but you're not going to bring tactics that are failing. And this is why we hear after some time, we helped you, we supported you with the food, we were the ones who were hiding you. And at that times we were spies. We are spying on the government. We have heard these testimonies throughout. And at times when you give a flashback of the stories and you're like, oh, so this shit was definitely like this. For example, we had a situation in Uganda where apparently everyone was so desperate to see the current president come into power because everyone believed that Amin was doing more harm. But who was doing this harm in the streets? They made people so tired. People were running into their houses at exactly 7. All the doors should be closed. Because if you stay out, you're going to be raped, you're going to be kidnapped. And who was raping and who was kidnapping these people? Whenever it clocked 7, the rebels hit the streets. And who are the rebels? These were the same people wished to come, because for them, the pain they were going through was the pain they felt, was the pain that was being inflicted to them by the government at that time. But it was not the government that was doing that. Now, this is the game of politics. It is okay for us to smear the situations the way we find fit. Fine. Romance it the way you want. Fine. But truth or bitter, this is the game. Accept the game, get to understand this game and ride it. If not, then it's going to be a failure. So when we had people get tired, Amin is doing this, we are having our young women, they cannot even move at 7, young girls are being raped and all that. I mean, if you look at this, of course, the criteria this man was standing on, I would even doubt if he would allow his people to rape any woman. Someone who was even not allowing any woman to wear mini skirts. Everyone was supposed to wear long clothes. He could not even allow someone to look at a married woman. It would take you to prison to give a second eye to a married woman. And if that married woman would go to report you, you'd go to prison. Because they would ask you, the Lord would ask you, why are you eyeing a married woman? Don't you know she belongs to a certain man? Now tell me if a government that has that criteria will again wait at 7 p.m. to rape the women. Does it really make sense? But no, now, people didn't see this. People were tired. People started supporting the rebellions. People started supporting the rebels. People started farming, calling the rebels to dig and harvest all their food to support them to eat. We have seen people testifying these things on televisions. Hey, Mr. President, I was the one who was feeding all your rebels at the other, this side of the country. Don't you remember a man who was giving you this and this? Hey, Mr. President, I was the one who was always giving you hideouts. I always gave your people were coming on television. The mind of the people. They played. Now, this is again whether you're coming for a revolution or for change. As much as Maria is stepping in the streets to fight to make sure she can afford a 3-square meal, to make sure I can afford my hospital bills, because this is all I want. I don't want to be a president. I'm not going in the streets because I want to be a mayor or a governor or an MP. I just want to be fine. I want to feel safe. Now, this is called a small dream. Now, this is a small dream that most of us are cherishing, because for us, these dreams are extremely big. But now we have got those with the diamond dreams. The one who are investing in billions and billions of money to people who have no dreams. And now for us who have, we spear after seeing this, and then we follow. Yeah, we are supposed to fight for what we want. But who is at the forefront? Yes, see, it is not Maria. People woke up, they decided on their own. Go and decide on your own, you will tell me. Just go and decide on your own, you will tell me. You know, bringing change, and whatever change in whatever sphere people see it takes something stronger than anger. It takes something more than being angry and hungry, because it is exciting to see when people are mad. They can do a lot of crazy shit, bro. It is exciting for us to mention that. People are mad everywhere. People are mad. We have heard, let me say, for example, we have had revolutions in the United States of America. We have had brothers who are extremely annoyed with all the things that have been going through. More people have lost their loved ones, they have lost their kids, they have lost their parents, they have lost their sisters, nieces and nephews, siblings, and all that. They have been directly affected. If this madness would bring successful revolution or change, we are mad. We are very angry. We are very angry. And it is in human nature for you to be mad and then calm down. This is the truth. You get angry and you chill. Later on, you relax, you breathe in and say, yeah. Because it is in nature, you cannot be angry 24/7. And these are the revolutions you see stepping out, and today, tomorrow they are calm. And you say, oh, we are going back the next week. But when something is organized, it is even given a duration. I'm going to say an example of the situation in Kenya. When they finished the bill, they entered another. It was not people who would just leave the streets that, we came for the bill, now it has been cleared. All right, let's go back. No, they said now the bill is done. What next, boss? I'm not saying everyone on the streets had a boss. This is just the truth that goes on. This is just the truth. As much as for you are there for what you want, there are people who are being paid. to be there. And whether people like it or not, that is just the bitter truth. The bitter truth that a lot of people hate to hear. It is the truth. But of course, if at all it is bringing us to the best, yeah, let it happen. Okay, if at all it's going to lead us to success, fine, let it happen, because it is okay for this situation. Now, why am I mentioning this? A lot of people are failing to understand how this whole thing is organized. It is not a mere, it is not, you see, we are being hard, like I said, we are all hit differently. Standing out there and being ready to be killed. Like we saw a few people being killed in Kenya. You standing there on the front and being ready to be killed carries a lot than emotions. More especially when it comes to the young people. Because we were seeing, let me say for example, they throw tear gas, other people hold the tear gas, throw it back, others run, others don't run. We had a group, and by the way, if people can still go back and watch these videos, we had individuals in these riots who never ran. For them, they were not running. And whenever these other people who are running back, the likes of us, would say that, hey, we have a group that is not running, we come back. We run and come back. And they do something and others are running and others, and they'll see, so that group is not running. We come back and join the group. And this is how these things have been managed to be sustained. Now, if they find the cowards who have just woken up abruptly, they have even left their lights on at home, they left some food on fire, they just joined. When the moment they throw the tear gas can, they are running and up to home. No one is coming back. All right? Now, that is what they call a revolution. It is more, it goes beyond the feelings of the people that are involved. Like I said, revolutions have the revolution has more than even 4 categories of people involved in it. And whether you like it or not, that is it. We have got people who are paid to be in this. We have got people who are joining because they are hurt. We have got people, and the number one leaders of these are usually people who are paid. This is their job. They are earning from this action. Just like we see during presidential campaigns, people are spearheading, they are ready with their sticks, and later in the evening they are joining in a certain room to be given a certain amount of money because of the actions they did during the campaigns. I guess INNOSSETU was sharing something. I'll let him share as I sip some little water.
Ogera nzisewulira bulungi.
Ngoye ndeka ayagala kunzitira kuno mwana gwenga tolina kisi olwanesaako fatandise okwekyaga agaye mama sikyalinamu kagusa ogwo n'ogumalawo nje n'omosquito wuuyo.
Let me start with, of course, Jibijaba. Let me read out comments. Jibijaba says, hello, Maria. Hello, Setu. Hello, Jibijaba. How are you doing out there? What are you doing now, Jibijaba? And what is time there? General Mosquito says that good afternoon, Maria, and said it is evening here. General Mosquito, it is evening here, but I guess it is afternoon wherever you are, General Mosquito. But let me hope you're doing good today. Let me hope you're doing fine. Yeah, we are talking about why revolutions, of course, why revolution is fading in most African countries. At least for the case of Kenya, it of course it had some success, but most of the countries in Africa it is fading. There are a lot of countries that desire to find. Don't worry, Set. I want to make fun of your phone today. You can relax. I want. General Mosquito, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay, General Mosquito. No Wahara. I guess what I say, I want to make fun of your phone today. You can relax. So, a lot of countries, of course, desire to have, of course, protests or demand for transparency, just like it was in Kenya. That, of course, the protests that started on 18th June, they started last month on June. So, a lot of countries in Africa desire to have such, of course, such changes. Ruto is changing cabinet day and night. But the concern, of course, goes back to the protesters. And actually, this is a clear indicator that the protests in Kenya, they were not led by, of course, opposition leaders. Now, Ruto is making blunders. He made a new cabinet where he appointed a lot of opposition leaders on the cabinet, but still people are protesting because it was not organized by opposition leaders. People protesting, people are still protesting. It is not aimed on opposition and stuff. Okay.
emudi ku ki? Ali mu bbawa kye bataagala, ye ky'abawa si kye
Like,
baagala.
like he thought that these protesters, or the protest actually protesting, it was organized by the opposition. Now he's picking out people like Odinga and other prominent opposition leaders to come out on board to represent these people that are protesting. But the people protesting are still, of course, continuing with the protests because their aim is not opposition. For them, they are not looking at opposition leaders, so they are going on with they are protesting. For them, they want drastic change. They want actually people in Kenya. They are now even they are now even against Odinga because Odinga is dealing with the Ruto these days. They are now even against Odinga. People in Kenya. Because for them, they are not focusing on politics, they are focusing on change. So for Ruto thinks that if we appoint a lot of opposition leaders, like at least the people can see representatives, people on streets can see representatives and relax. But it is not the case. Abantu bakyekarakasa. And actually, most people, actually, that is what they think most of the time. They think whenever we have protests, they think, of course, they are going to gain in these protests. Most especially the opposition leaders, whenever something happens, they think they are going to get a way out at the end. They are going to get huge positions at the end. Waliwo mukazi, like there is a certain woman in Ruto's government that was changed from the Attorney General to tourism minister. Then there is a guy who, of course, a lot of people, actually, a lot of politicians, they are looking at that guy that might be elected or might be, of course, appointed by Ruto to become the new Attorney General. The guy said, for me, even if Ruto gives me that position, I don't want. There's a lot of protests among the people are rejecting positions. People are rejecting positions. So
ngenda kulinda okomewo mbaako ojja kunzitira wano. Let's wait and see where the situation in Kenya is going to take Kenya. And I hope it won't bring us to the biggest surprise, like the one I'm thinking. Hey, um, you know, it is usually us, the people, um, who actually use our emotions in most cases. But there are people who statistically draft these. Lwaki obeera ovaawo nkooye njagagenda kwegololamu katono.
naye ate nze sewulira bulungi.
Tuyogeramu katono neegololemu.
Sewulira bulungi nateera n'okuvaako.
Tovaako nninda nkomewo.
So whenever, of course, we have such and of course, a lot of factors have made, of course, protests across Africa to become, revolution across Africa to become successful because of the poor, because of the unfair, of course, goals that, of course, that are set, of course, down whenever protests are arranged here. When we look at, of course, the case in Uganda, of course, a lot of actually people across the world, I looked at the Bazungu, at the white media channels, the BBC and other CNN. They were actually on Tuesday morning. They posted, of course, in their news that, of course, that the wave that was in Kenya, that we may experience it in, of course, in Uganda. But the reality is the Uganda-based, of course, protests or revolution stuff. It was a political kind of course, it was a political aimed protests. But when you look at Kenya, the way, of course, people in Kenya protested, they were protesting on real things. People are protesting because of the increased tax on health care in Kenya. So these are, of course, these are things that people are facing in their daily lives every day. But when you come out and you say that you want to march to the parliament without clear intentions, when you post, of course, when you post on social media a previous day before the protests that we are going to march to the parliament, so on which grounds are you standing on to organize such protests? And are we going to see, of course, are we going to see success in this? Is everyone, of course, aware of course, is everyone ready to go on streets, down on streets, and of course protest because of the corruption that you're talking about, the abuse of human rights that you're talking about? Maria has been saying there, she has been saying there that there are a lot of people that are not even eating, like they can't even afford a meal a day. So you're going to take the hungry people on the roads to protest? So I think the political, of course, the political activists, they are also making the situation of revolution in Africa very confusing and difficult to achieve. It is very hard to achieve that kind of revolution if at all we have people that still have their selfish interests towards, or whenever we have protests or any demand for change from the government. because at the end of it, they will be ready. They will be ready to, of course, they will be ready to wait for positions in the government, just like it is in Kenya. We would have thought that, of course, protests were being organized by the opposition. That's why he was, of course, appointing a lot of opposition leaders into the government, because he thought that it was a political organized, of course, protest. That is what, of course, that is what is happening, of course, in very many African countries, because we don't have that we don't have those aims. We don't. It is not organized on the aims. However, the Kenya kind of protesting, it had that impact on African lives. Actually, a lot of African countries wished to have such protests in their countries, of course, to get that quick change without sitting in the parliament, without making certain arrangements, but to get that direct change from the president. So the other issue that is, of course, that is making, of course, revolutions to happen across Africa is the external influence. When we look at March, many of course, of the protests that we have had, let them be the protests that we had in Sudan, that of course ended up ending the regime of Bashir in, of course, in the north part of Sudan. These were protests that, of course, that had external influences. Most of the people on the streets were, of course, paid to go on the streets. It wasn't a real ask for change. It wasn't a real revolution. A lot of people were paid to be on streets in Sudan. When Omar Bashir, of course, the former president of Northern Sudan, was, of course, overthrown during that time, most of the people, these were not people that, of course, that it was an internal protest, or it was an internal based protest organized in Sudan. Well, the other example is, of course, the protests that were in 2011 in Libya, because before Gaddafi was assassinated, it started with the protests. It started with the people protesting. So this was organized by the Western people still, by the whites. These are people that paid out people to go on the streets. If at all you're paying someone doesn't know that he must be having, he should be, of course, is entitled to get good health care. Someone doesn't know that he's entitled not to be taxed highly on food. Someone is reminded, someone doesn't know what he needs. So such people don't have clear intentions. And whenever such things happen, like I said, political opponents or people that are involving in this, for them, they look on where they are going to, of course, to eat. They look on the share. At the end of it, they look for how they are going to share. They are going to get that big. So let's hope, of course, we get, of course, people that really and really, of course, understand the demographics of the country. African countries need to understand, of course, ordinary people need to understand, of course, how issues move within the country. We need to know how the budget, of course, runs, and how money is, of course, how money is distributed in different sectors of the government. This is how we are going to learn how things move. Because it is until the people of Kenya realized that fuel is being taxed a lot, imports are being taxed a lot, then they realized and understood the real meaning of the financial bill, and they had a sense of protesting because of understanding how things run in the country. So we need to understand. So lack of education is also paying revolutions in Africa. A lot of African people, they are ignorant about their countries and how things move in the government. They focus on different things. Someone will tell you that why do I protest because of corruption? I eat food, I eat, I sleep. Why do I go and
Kyogamba
stop?
ffe kyogamba ffe tuli basiru nnyo bannakenya batusinga otegeera. Why is it that you run whenever I pose a question? That is not fair. Mhm. Komawo Innocsetu kuba komawo kuba byogera binyumira abantu nze ngenda bavuma buvumu. Komawo. Anyway, everyone has perspectives at which, of course, they view this whole thing. And I personally think that getting to know something or your economy and all blah isn't something that will even take people to the streets. I'm sorry. Because economy keep changing every time. People get to things keep changing. Like, for example, in Africa, I'm gonna say there is a moment where you find when food is floating. I don't know with other countries, but in Uganda, because Uganda relies a lot on agriculture, aside the minerals and all that. At least every household cultivates something. There is a time where you find the food is even floating. People cannot even finish the food in the country. Even people dealing with the food business are making losses because everyone is having this food and that. There is a time where people plant corn or maize, and you will find that a cup is just, or a kilo is costing very little money. That's when food is floating, when there is a surplus of food. Now, there is when a season comes when things have not healed well, and shit hits, and people be looking for food, and when it is scarce because of the season. And production has everything to do with the economy, the drive of economy. I'm having, so, but Jim Jabba says, take care. I have to get back to work. Good discussion. All right, Jim Jabba, thank you for joining us and take care too. I'm not really feeling fine, but don't worry. So, when such a situation happens, Of course, you expect different results from the citizens and the people. And like I said, we have different. You cannot judge the situation of Kenya and start pointing that out with any country, because you may find that what is affecting Kenya is not affecting others. So you cannot stand and say we are heading to the parliament. Maybe their problem is not the parliament. You cannot say now tonight we are going to hit the markets. Maybe their problem is not that. I think the most important thing is for whoever wants to start a revolution in a specific region, a country, whatever, get to understand one, what is affecting the people, how large is the population that is being affected by that, how willing are these people, and how probably tired are the people. We have seen one of the most hostile, I can say this with no fear, forget the northern part where we have had Arabs and all that with the chaos in Egypt and all that. We have seen some no-nonsense people who even manufacture guns on their own, the Nigerians. We have seen Nigerians, people who have manufactured gun to give to some people to fight. We have seen young people trying to make tankers in Nigeria. Now, if some of you guys didn't know, we have seen people who are trying to make this because for them, they want to see change. But they are doing this for a wrong reason. You are bringing the tanker, but everybody, the biggest problem is everyone is looking for what to eat. And no one has been guaranteed with that yet. Now, this is the major. When I talk about eating, there is that comfortability that people want, and no one has been guaranteed with that. I'll go back to what I was telling you. We've seen successful revolutions that have brought different governments into power. Even the governments that have turned into dictatorship, even governments that have been in power for some time doing the same thing they went to the bush for. We call it bushes for you who are watching, because most of the rebels in Africa are always in the bushes, in the forest and all that. So you Africans usually use the term bush. Okay? It's not like in other places. I don't know where rebels hide in places like the US and other places. In Africa, they hide in bushes. I think in the Middle East, most of them hide in the mountains, the sandy mountains and the rocky areas and all that. In Africa, they hide in the bushes. That's why we always use the word bush. You will find that rebels are occupying a big forest, and everyone will know the rebels are right in that forest, like the Sambutsa forest of Nigeria, where we find the Boko Harams. Like in the forest of Congo, which is so huge that it has inhabited apparently to something like 12 to 20 rebel groups, fighting for different purposes and fighting different countries. Because most of the rebels in Congo are not only fighting the government of Congo, some of them are there to do other things beyond the fight. So, when we have these, particularly, like I was saying, we have a lot of people who would wish to join. But we are so lame in the mind that everyone goes where they want to benefit. There is a lot of saying that runs within the people that, now why should I go and die? What am I going to benefit from that? If I die, are my children going to be remembered? If I, this is the excuse a lot of people have. And why? Because the example that has been the example that has been put across by other governments is that a lot of people have lost their lives, but no one has been remembered. Some of their families are living in absolute poverty. Some of their families have been forgotten. Now, when you give someone hope, I'm going to give the same example to the terrorists we see. You see, usually people say they are jihadis, they are fighting for Allah. and all that matrix most people love to hear and also talk about. I remember someone told me, Ugandans, I have a friend, a very silly friend of mine. I'm sorry, he's my friend, but very silly at times. He's a grown ass person, but he said most of the terrorists, the Islamist terrorists or jihadists go to war to the point of losing their lives because they are promised that after death they are going to have 12 virgins in heaven, in what they call Jahannam. Okay? You know, that laughing, I'm telling you how people's mind work. This is a grown man. I don't know how he thinks like that, but that is him. And I've seen some. So I think if they brought the same idea in Africa, that people should go at least and die, because after they die, they're going to have to. If even you're having two wives and you're having problems, and you are going to die because you are expecting to have 12 virgins. I don't know how they eat virginity and whatever follows that. But this old fella, I think whether his mind is engulfed with whatever comes in
Yahoa.
the sexual part of it all, I think it's driven by that. But I don't know.
Hati akirishwa mu Yahoa.
Sirika money. So that was him and what he thought. The man has celebrated like 70 what birthdays, but he still doesn't understand the matrix that lies behind the jihadists and terrorism. And how are you going to convince such a person to let go 75 years of his life and that mentality he has, and you tell him it is a different thing entirely? So when for me, I'm talking to such people, I just like, yeah. So is that true? Because what should I say now? Because what have you not had? But you decided to stay bent. Now, I'm taking you back to a lot of things that happened. Well, I say that terrorists are trained since childhood. People also say
When someone is expecting 12 virgins in afterlife.
you wanna have. So people train young terrorists from childhood. We have seen also rebels who are trained from childhood. They are convinced when a child is a child, you don't tell them about 12 virgins when you're training them to be terrorists or to do whatever it is. Because what is, they don't even understand. Then I also don't know who is going to be willing to die because he's going to have sex with the 12 virgins when they go to heaven. And then someone is sending me articles, this is what is said and what. That is when people are dying for religion, the Islam. And at times, terrorism has got little to do with Islam. Not everyone claims they are Muslims. We have seen American citizens who are being trained. We have seen people who have been in America and they have turned into terrorists. We have seen everyone can be a terrorist. It has got nothing to do with religion. As much as I don't support religion, but this is just the fact. So, when everyone has their idea, but if we are to have revolutions, people need a stronger idea. When terrorists are going to have to attack, people don't always say that these people get money, their families are being taken care of. Now I'm telling you, the terrorists that are in Arab countries or in other countries, before even they go for mission, their families are flown. They are taken to the US, they're given direct citizenship with green cards, And this is why it is even hard for such kind of things to end. Because their families are given comfortability, the children even know that our father is a terrorist, but they're going to be given shelter. These are the number one people that are given shelter. There's something that is happening to most of the refugees we see. Most of the people that are being shot and killed they don't leave countries like Congo. The majorities of the people we see driving cars, having big houses in Uganda, having land, they are speaking Congolese. These are children. These are families that belong to terrorists, to rebels in Congo. Now, this is the matrix. Why are people ready to spend all their life in the forests? They are sacrificing for the majority of the people they love. There is no understanding. Why are you going in the bush? Why are you going to fight for something that you're not going to benefit from? They're sacrificing. They are sacrificing for the majority. This is why you see each time there's no difference between men who do some hard kind of job with even people who are going to the forest. You see a man going and is working and is doing a very risky job. Every time we see people joining military forces, what is different from that? They go on the front line, they leave their wives, pregnant women, parents, and they go because they know they are going to earn some money that is going to be to help them to be able to sustain their families. What different feeling is it? Forget about I'm fighting for my country. That one comes later. Because if we are to fight for the country, you even realize that you are fighting and dying for the wrong cause. The biggest issue is you are fighting for the betterment of the people you care for and love. Now, this is how terrorism comes in. Most of these people, before even they put that bomb for you to go and hit whatever, the state house, the parliament, or whatever place, they assure you. My family is safe, your family is safe, Maria. They have got their green cards and they're heading to the US right now, and they're going to be citizens in the United States, all right. And we have given them this amount of money on their accounts, and your account has this money. You see the alert on your account, and then probably there is somebody else you trust that you've given everything, your trust funds and everything on your account. You are heading to die, not for the 12 virgins, like people always say. At times it is usually, the truth is money runs, it controls. Now, at the end of the day, you see someone, how can someone go in the church and bomb? They die. These families, they live their families in a very absolute comfortable life. And most of these families, we still see them. Some of them are working, some of them are even in the parliaments of the US, the UK, some of them are where, and they have been families of terrorists who have died. But they are dying because they have a belief that the people they are leaving behind are very comfortable. If it wasn't that, we wouldn't see people now. I'm giving you the example of most of the refugees we have. Most of the Congo refugees we are having here are people who are having a big hand in the conflicts that are going on in Congo. We have seen people die every day, people run with their guts and blah, blah. They will never even be allowed to cross the borders. And someone comes from Congo, someone has a lot of money to start real estates in Uganda. They have big houses in Uganda and all that. Because these people have big involvement, they are benefiting from what is going on. Now, I don't know how to term that, but I'm going to... Huh?
How about those Congolese men that bridge, that normally move with jewelry here? Are they refugees too?
Those people who move with the jewelries, and there is a lot of trade that goes on between the Congo border And if you notice, most of those people buying a Haiti, Fanana, they are all short. Have you ever realized that? Not all Congo, it is a certain tribe of people that live at the border of Uganda and Congo, an immediate border where there is a lot of trade going on and all that. So those are people who they are not the ones, they even don't know what happens in the war field or in the field of war. They only hear about those things. For them, they are so close, and that's why at times they even speak some fake Congolese. They even don't know what to speak. At times they even don't know how to speak Lingala. If you talk to someone, you see they are mixing a little bit with the languages at the border, except that the language in the deeper western part, like if you cross from where we are right now, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. From here to Congo is not, by the way, very far. It depends where the side you use to enter Congo. But now here you will find that we have a lot of Congolese, real Congolese around here who are not like refugees or stuff. No. For them, they just came around to start their life over and stuff. There are very many here. So I don't know even how INNOSSETU drove me back to that Congo style stuff. But you see, so I'm saying there are a lot of people need to have a purpose. Because when you wake up and go to the street, if I wake up and go to the street, I will definitely know I'm either coming back as I went, I'm coming back when I'm half or dead. Three things should happen. You're coming back when you're, no, 4. You're coming back when you're safe, or you're going to lose your hand or an eye or your leg or whatever, be wounded, or you're going to be dead, you're going to be killed, or you're going to be arrested. So when you're joining, you have to be prepared for this. And then we've got some other people who love chaos. Me, when I hear a gunshot as people are running away from, I don't love chaos. I don't know. But when I hear a gunshot, when people are running from that side, I want to go and see what exactly happened. And now this is me. It is just my nature. Though I'm not a chaotic person who loves chaos, but but that is me. So when we are starting, when revolutions like that happen, I told you from before, we have people who are categorized. I gave you the example of the terrorist. No terrorist is going to die because of the 12 virgins. Besides, not every terrorist is a Muslim, or not every terrorist is an Arab. So, when people need something stronger than promises. And this is why I said, whether people like it or not, we have got people whose accounts have been filled to lead demonstrations. And each time they are around, their alerts keep on coming. For them, they don't care whether the budget is like that, whether the economy is that, whether who is coming in power and who. They are fighting for somebody. There is a reason, a purpose why they are doing this. And there is always some person or a group of people that is injecting money. And then those are of course, 2% or 5% of the people out of 100, they are 5. And usually they are the ones who are leading all this. They are not afraid for anything. And then we've got this other percentage of people. For them, they are out there fighting to gain their freedom and access to whatever it is they wish for. And then we have got another group. For them, they have come there to get whatever they can get. Those are the people who will be busy looting, they are stealing, You break someone's, you cannot be fighting the economy when you are stealing people's properties. They will be entering saloons, stealing people's saloon equipment. They are entering the boutique. They are stealing
Eh,
clothes. Now, those are also, they are not coming to fight for what they want. They are just thieves who are taking this as an advantage, who are using this advantage to make sure that they get or they carry out robbery, what is usually called looting. We have also got some others who are caught unaware. All these people are always in demonstrations or riots. People who are caught unaware, probably now you've been in a bus, Maria is going to meet probably Black Hotfire Network family, and I don't know, and then boom, you end up with jam, and then boom, you know, shit happens. So we have all those people. In the same.